You know that heating and cooling system in your house? It's working its tail off in the background, but do you really understand what it's up against every single day? So, in this guide, we're going to break down the hidden challenges your HVAC faces and give you the essential know-how to make smarter, more confident decisions as a homeowner. Okay, let's dive right in. Here's what we're going to get into. First, the hidden demands your climate puts on your system. Second, the most common things that actually break. Then, that huge question, repair or replace. After that, we'll walk through what a professional service call should look like. And finally, we'll get into the modern standards that govern the whole shebang. All right, so let's start with the big question. Why does your HVAC system seem to work so much harder than systems in other places? And the answer, well, it's not just about what you set on the thermostat. It's all about the unique environmental challenges your home is up against, day in and day out. So to really wrap our heads around these invisible forces, let's take a look at a place that really puts a system through its paces. We're going to use a demanding climate like Jurupa Valley in California as our case study. It is the perfect example of how your local environment can put a crazy amount of strain on your equipment. Okay, number one, and this one's a no-brainer, the heat. It is just relentless. When you've got summer temps constantly hitting 95, 100, even 105 degrees, your air conditioner isn't just working, it's fighting a battle. It gets basically no rest for months at a time, and that constant nonstop grinding away, man, it takes a serious toll. Next, you've got something you can't even really see, dust. If you live in an area with a lot of farming or new construction, the air is just full of this stuff. It gets sucked right into your system, clogs up your filters, and coats all the important coils. It basically chokes your system, making it struggle just to breathe. You know, even the water can be working against you. In a lot of places, the tap water has a really high mineral content. And as your AC pulls humidity out of the air, it creates condensation. But here's the thing, those minerals get left behind. They build up into this crusty scale that can clog up the drain lines, and that can lead to water backing up and causing some serious damage. And last but not least, humidity. See, your AC's job isn't just to make the air cold, it's also to pull moisture out of it. So when it's super humid, it adds a whole other job for your AC. It's putting all this extra strain on the compressor, and that's like the heart of the whole unit. So think about it. You've got heat, dust, hard water, and humidity all ganging up on your system. With that much pressure, something's got to give, right? So what actually breaks? What are the most common points of failure? So here they are, the usual suspects. You've got refrigerant leaks, capacitors that just burn out from the heat, those clogged drains we talked about, and even total compressor failure. But what's really, really interesting here is that number one item, dirty filters. This is, by a long shot, the biggest cause of problems. And that's the one thing that you, the homeowner, can actually prevent super easily. Look, eventually, it doesn't matter how great you are with maintenance, your system is gonna have a major breakdown. And that's when you face the big one, the question every homeowner dreads. Do you shell out for a huge repair on an old unit, or is it just time to replace the whole thing? But here's the good news. There's actually a super helpful rule of thumb that the pros use to cut through the confusion. It's called the $5,000 rule. And it's just simple math that, honestly, makes the whole thing a lot less confusing. Okay, so here's how it works. It's super simple. You take the cost of the repair you were quoted, and you multiply it by how old your system is. So let's just say, for example, your system is 12 years old, and you get a quote for a $600 repair. You multiply 12 times 600, and you get $7,200. Well, that number is way over $5,000, and that's your signal it's probably time to start shopping for a new system. And that right there is why this rule works so well. Because the reality is, in a really tough climate, an HVAC system only has a lifespan of about 12 to 15 years. What the $5,000 rule really does is stop you from throwing good money after bad on a system that's pretty much on its last legs anyway. All right, so you've made the call, you need a pro. But what should that whole experience actually look like? It shouldn't feel like some big mystery. A good service call has a clear process, from the minute you call to the moment they're done. Any really good professional service call is going to follow these three basic steps. Step one, you schedule the service. Simple enough. Step two, the technician figures out exactly what's wrong and gives you a price, which you have to approve. Then, and only then, comes step three. They do the repair and they test everything to make sure it's running perfectly. And this brings us to what is maybe the most important part, upfront flat rate pricing. You should never ever have to be staring at the clock worried about an hourly rate just climbing and climbing. A real pro is going to tell you, here is exactly what it will cost before they pick up a single tool. No surprises. That gets rid of so much stress. Okay, so whether you're getting a repair or a brand new system, you've got to understand the standards that are in place today. And trust me, this isn't just boring technical stuff. This stuff directly affects how comfortable your home is, how high your energy bills are, and even how safe your family is. You're going to hear these acronyms thrown around like SEER and AFU. Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like MPG for your car. SEER is for your air conditioner, AFU is for your furnace. Simple rule. The higher the number, the more efficient the unit, and that means lower energy bills in your pocket. But listen, that fancy efficiency rating means absolutely nothing if the system is the wrong size for your house. This part is so important. If it's too big, it'll turn on and off all the time, wasting energy and doing a terrible job with humidity. If it's too small, it'll run itself into the ground just trying to keep up. Getting the size right is everything. And, in a place like California, this stuff isn't just a good idea. It's actually the law. Rules like Title 24 make sure that any new system meets really strict standards for things like efficiency, that the ducts are sealed tight so they don't leak, and that the refrigerant is charged just right. And the whole thing has to be signed off by an official inspector to make sure it's safe and it actually performs the way it's supposed to. So all of this really boils down to one final big question for you. Are you being proactive, maintaining your system for the long haul? Or is it kind of just out of sight, out of mind, waiting for that one hot day when it has a total, catastrophic, and very expensive failure? Really getting a handle on these ideas is the first step to being a homeowner who's actually in the driver's seat.